Haha! I got it to work! I was able to gift 5 memberships right before we got started because I wasn't able to do it yesterday. There was like a glitch on YouTube, and I want to make sure I gift my 5 memberships every week because you guys are so generous. You set the bar high, and I want to match you. Thank you, Danny. Thank you so much. So yeah, we have some pretty good stories yet again to go over today. Thank you for joining me. As always, the way the live streams work is that for the first 3 stories, try to keep your comments and questions on topic. I will directly address them at the end of each story. And then at the very end, of course, as always, there will be 10 minutes of Ask Me Anything. All right, everybody, here we go. Howdy, 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 the ramekins. Okay, so story number 1. Hold on, where we go from? All right. Boop. Oh, it's The Last of Us. It has arrived. Here we go. Here are our chapter times. As I promised, I'm going to go over my top 10 shots in the trailer. That's how I'm doing the breakdown. But first, there are a couple other things that I want to touch on. The first is HBO and Max's policy continues. I had suspected or hoped that maybe they would change it for this show, but they have not. Thank you, Anonymous Wannabe. Right now, just like they did for House of the Dragon, HBO Max claims, I did do a trailer reaction, Rashad, it's up right now, and I did it for free because HBO Max claims all trailer reactions for their content. Sorry if the volume's a little low, I'll try, it's as high, I'll put it up as high as I can. That's as high as it can go. And if that doesn't take care of the situation, I'll look into it further. Max has a situation where they claim all trailer reactions and even breakdowns. If you have any of the actual trailer, like even with no sound, they'll claim it. So it's an aggressive policy, and I think it's one of the reasons you're probably not seeing too much coverage today, which was surprising to me. I reacted to it. I knew they were probably going to claim it. I'd hoped that maybe they wouldn't. And then it got claimed for the song anyway. I think, I thought that, for something that's such a big property, I'm still going to cover it. And I'm, of course, going to break down the episodes. Claiming it Glubby Snot means that you can't make any money off of it. Any revenue off of the video goes to HBO Max. So, in fact, they get the money off of my trailer reaction. So, it is what it is. Okay, but that's one of the reasons that I think you're seeing less and less trailer reactions to HBO Max content. All right, and I think to even claim the breakdown is extremely aggressive. Very, very aggressive. That's why for some things like Universal and HBO Max, I'm going to be switching to breakdowns that are done via still, like I did for the recent Thunderbolts trailer. And it still worked out great, so that was a fine workaround, and we all still had a good time. Now, my biggest takeaway from this first trailer was, gotta watch them cutscenes, because I need to be able to know what they're referencing. I saw a number of people, we'll talk about in a moment, talk about how those were shots right out of the game. And I want to be able to play that game as well. I want to be able to be like, oh yeah, that is the exact same shot. So it's important, that I check that out. And if you're interested in, really knowing the source material, I think now is the time to watch the cutscenes as well. They're like 4 hours, or I think even longer. I think they're like 6 or 8 hours, right? The cutscenes, let's look it up. They're on YouTube. Let's see how long they are. I remember because I was going to watch it right after The Last of Us Season 1, but then I was like, I'm never going to remember that. The Last of Us Part 2 cutscenes. Going, they're like 9 to 11 hours. That's nuts. Woo! Although I just, for those of us who binge, I just watched basically 6 hours of The Diplomat or the Menendez brothers as well. So, you can do it, but it's going to be like a week. So I I got to get started. So I got to watch the cutscenes so I can better cover the second season. Okay. Video game authenticity. Clearly, we're living in the current video game renaissance. And very clearly, one of the things that makes people really excited about video game adaptations is authenticity to the source material, which is even different than, thank you, Drago, than comic books because it's a moving picture. So to have exact shots and to recreate those sequences are what really excites people. For instance, one of the reasons that I didn't get Super Mario Brothers, I came to discover there were many reasons. But there were actual sequences that were right out of Super Mario Brothers gameplay. And I'm amazed that people who play Super Mario Brothers, because it's just like boingy, 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 boingy. But, they were able to recognize the strategy and the play and the sequence. And that's incredible. So that was one of the reasons that Super Mario did so well. And I think people being able to see and I have to say with X-Men 97, to be fair, some of us geeked out who know the comics when we saw the panels recreated. We were like, that's the panel from the comic, you did it. And I think that's also very exciting. So I think that's one of the aspects. All right. I'm not playing the video game. I don't own a gaming system. I have enough things that, nom, 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 eat up my life. Gaming is, I hear, highly addictive. I think the cutscenes will suffice. All right, so still highly accessible. One of the great things about The Last of Us, the first season, was that anyone could watch it. You didn't have to be someone who played the games to enjoy it. For instance, my parents watched The Last of Us. They loved it. They were a little bit behind everybody else. They didn't watch it like every Sunday religiously, but they watched it. They loved it, and I'm sure they'll watch this second season. And, I think it's, I tried to get them to watch Agatha all along, but it was too many other things that it was referencing. It was just too much, it was too much of a commitment. And I think they like Penguin, but I don't know if they're going to keep watching Penguin. I don't know how compelling Penguin is. We'll see. I really liked it, as you know, but we're going to talk about that a little bit with the Agatha thing. But The Last of Us is extremely accessible. It's a show that started from the beginning. People all came in at the same point. You didn't have, it's an extremely well done show that appeals not only to gamers, but everybody. So that's really exciting. All right, then I also want to shout out the talent, and I even listed them individually. So Craig Mazin, Craig Mazin, of course, his famed acclaim was Chernobyl, the infamous Monday night HBO spot. Both The Gilded Age and Chernobyl debuted on Monday nights on HBO, and we're like, who's going to watch these shows? Luckily, they built an audience. Those shows have created a name for themselves, and now they're on Sunday nights. So Craig Mazin, I think he is really in a good space. And I think just like the Duffer Brothers, people are going to be very interested to see, what he might do in the movie space once, or what will his next project be. He's becoming one of those creators that everybody wants to know what they're up to, what's next. Then as for Neil Druckmann, he of course is the game developer for Naughty Dog. It's his company. He's the creative force behind The Last of Us. And I think that he's done a lot for the relationship between Hollywood and video games. And I think that he's proven that you can have a video game talent be so strongly connected to adaptation, but it won't overshadow the Hollywood talent. I mean, Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin are partners on this. Hollywood, video games. Hollywood, video games. It's a 50-50 split, and everybody has benefited as a result. So I'm really impressed with this. I'd love to see this happen in the comic book space as well, to maybe some degree, although I suspect Tom King is responsible for old Hal Jordan. It seems the exact kind of thing Tom King would do in one of his comic books. And so welcome to the frustrating but yet still compelling world of Tom King, those of you who don't read comic books. So I think that that's an aspect as well. There isn't as much consistent talent in comic books, though, which is a little bit frustrating. Like, comic books are in a pretty bad space right now. Then Caitlin Dever as Abby. I was so surprised how many people said that Abby wasn't in the trailer when she was totally in the trailer. And I think it's because they've somewhat changed the look of the character, and she looks so much like Bella Ramsey, which is intentional. But she looks so much like Bella Ramsey. When I first saw her in the trailer, I was like, oh, that's a nice shot of Bella Ramsey. Oh my God, that's not Bella Ramsey, that's Caitlin Dever. So it's interesting that right away, people didn't recognize they were looking at Abby. So I hope that Caitlin Dever, they said she had to have security already on set when they were filming, her own personal security because of, iHeart Movie says, who is this Abby? Dead Pixels, I would have liked Katie O'Brien as well. But Abby is, she's the villain, although some people who are very much like The Last of Us Part 2 feel it's a more complex situation. A lot of people dislike Abby a lot of fans dislike Abby for what her character did in the game. And we'll see. It was very rough for that game. It was very rough for the talent who worked on the video game. And, I think that everyone's a little nervous that's going to maybe potentially repeat itself with now that it's being adapted. All right, so let's go through my favorite shots. Shots. Little John there. Let's take some shots. That was great. All right, so my favorite top 10 shots, in no particular order, by the way. But I wanted to do a top 10. I thought it would be more easy to go over. And since this is a segment and not its whole own video, I'll be able to go into these more in depth once I watch the cutscenes. And then I too can be like, oh, there it is. But that wouldn't have helped me here because Catherine O'Hara is playing a totally new character. And by the way, I'm so living for the Catherine O'Hara renaissance. That she's just making this huge comeback. She's everywhere. I think thanks to her work on Schitt's Creek and her Emmy winning, she's finally getting the recognition she deserves after working for so long in Hollywood. I mean, it's like she's like the female J.K. Simmons. You'll love to see the recognition. But I will say, I'm curious as to where they found all this makeup in the apocalypse. I mean, I love it. I love to know that if civilization ends, we'll still be able to serve looks. But I'm like, wow, how'd you dye your hair? And how'd you do a stylization? She seems to have I guess you could find a straightener. But I'm like, where'd you find hair dye? Where'd you find mascara and makeup? I mean, it's hilarious to me. And she's not even wearing like a little bit of makeup. Like, oh, I crushed some berries into a bowl and I made makeup out of it. I'm like, that's full-on lipstick, Catherine. Where'd you get that? I'd be like, I don't want psychiatric help. I would like to barter with you for makeup. So I think that's very funny. I also feel, I hope they don't vilify psychiatry because I think mental health is really important, as I think I'm so glad to see the way things have progressed, that discussion. That's pretty funny, Ricardo said she found an abandoned Sephora. We're rich, we found an abandoned Sephora. So I think that's hilarious. But anyway, I hope that they don't vilify psychiatry and therapy because I think it's very important. However, she is giving Joel some very bad advice. The whole trailer, she's saying, you can't start healing until you say it out loud. And as you might have seen from my reaction, I was like, don't you say it, Joel. Don't ever tell anyone because not everyone's going to understand you like we do, Joel. Let me do a poll because I think most people who watched the show felt that Joel was right. Was Joel right in his actions at the end of season 1? I feel he was 100% right. I think it was very poorly handled by the other side. Okay, I mean, heck yeah. No, so bad. No, so bad. And then moral gray zone. Like you don't know how to feel. Okay, anyone can vote, by the way. You don't have to be a member to vote in a poll. So I'm like he just should never tell anybody. I'm like, it can't be undone, Joel. So what is the point of telling anybody? It's just gonna ruin. And if the point to tell people was right away. I mean, it's worse that you waited. It's like It's going to be so bad for him. He should never tell anybody. And it's horrible advice that she's giving him. I hope it works out for him. I hope this isn't a whole series of feeling bad for people being mean to Joel. Okay. That's right, Remy. Ellie deserved a say as well. And I also think that it was too intense for him. That they should have eased into it more, and there should have been a discussion, and should have given him the chance to say goodbye if that was her choice. I think it was a bad situation. All right, so while you guys vote, we'll go through the rest of the pictures. All right, then here's the town. Oh, let's look at a big picture of it. It does have a lot of stuff in it. It seems to have there's a jewelry store there on the left. I'm like, what? We've progressed to trinkets. It's just funny. You would think all they would need would be a general store and food. But yeah, it's looking good. The city is looking amazing. It's looking like a freaking Deadwood. I love it. Yeah, that's right, Mr. Andrews. Where's the Sephora? So it looks fantastic. I mean, and what an amazing set. And, I got to tell you, again, you're like, the apocalypse doesn't seem so bad. I mean, I'm not a big fan of camping and living in the West, I wouldn't call this quite suburban. This is a main street. I guess it could have its charms. But, I guess this is as close to a big city as you're going to get, in the apocalypse. So it looks great. So I liked this shot because it really shows you the scope as well. All right, then that's right from the game. And it's beautiful. Talk about a place to fall in love. Because there's Ellie playing the guitar, and Dina, who's been recast as Isabella Merced, is about to fall in love. She's like, who's that hot lady playing the guitar? But it's gorgeous. It's really beautiful. It looks like it's a place to take Instagram photos for your feed. I just think it's really, really nicely done. But the most impressive thing about this shot is that it's almost exactly from the game. And good on the game, by the way, for coming up with something so cool. There's Abby. That's not Ellie. That's Abby. That's Caitlin Dever with your first look. She is significantly smaller in stature than the way Abby was portrayed in the game. Abby was portrayed as being quite muscular, a physical force. And who's to say, Caitlin Dever might have, bulked up. She might be like a slim bulk, this is a close-up. You don't know what she's working with. But it is not the same, substantially bigger size of the character in the game. But I think she looks really good. I think she looks it's a very emotional performance. And it's supposed to be a yin and yang situation with Ellie. And they really look strikingly alike. And I think they've clearly decided to play that up with this casting. And maybe the casting will help maybe soften some people's reactions to her. We'll see. Now that Neil Druckmann saw how everybody reacted to The Last of Us Part 2, maybe he can tweak it a little bit so maybe the medicine goes down a little bit differently. All right, then next, there were a ton of shots that were so stunning with the landscape. But this was one of the best. I love them on the horses riding through the snow. There's another shot where they just ride into like a whiteout, which is incredible. And here you can see there's 2x2 on these horses, but it's just a stunning shot. It looks cinematic. I'm glad this is doing well because usually Westerns don't do well. I guess when you add zombies, it works. But I just think that's just stunning. I told you I'm not a big fan of camping, but this makes me want to go to a lodge. I'm like, pretty nice out there. You got some hot cocoa and some barbecue. I'm excited. All right, now that's a great shot. Oh, lady, you got a little something on your face there. Oh, God, look at that. Look, she's got like maggots or something on her eyebrow. Oh, it's so disgusting. Oh, I'm so disgusted, but in a good way. I'm like, that's disgusting. Show me more. So you see that zombie's about to be put out of her misery, but that is just fantastic. I think, and kudos to this stunt person, X/extra, who's really selling this sequence. They're like, this is your time to shine, lady. And she's like, I'm ready. But yeah, it looks really, really phenomenal. It's just so gross. Let's take another close look at it. Look at that. Oh, does she have snow? Has snow landed on her mold coming out of her head? Oh, it's so gross. I don't know. I'm surprised that, I guess because it's damp, that mold can still grow in the cold. That's disgusting. All right. Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Wright. He is from the game. In the game, he did the motion capture. I'm sorry you're eating there, David. Jeffrey Wright played a character called Isaac Dixon, another charismatic but dangerous cult leader, basically. And he did the motion capture in the game, and now he's playing the character on the show, which is phenomenal. So cool. We all love Jeffrey Wright. The more Jeffrey Wright we can get, the better. And he is, in some ways, Mr. HBO. But he looks a little different here, which I appreciate. I gotta tell you, he's looking pretty nice. I'm like, oh, somebody, speaking of hitting the gym, somebody else has hit the gym, and he looks lean and mean. But Jeffrey Wright, I've always liked Jeffrey Wright. He's always had daddy energy, but he has particularly strong daddy energy in this shot. He's also doing the evil head tilt, which we see so often. But yeah, he looks pretty sexy here. You know, by the way, I was not aware that he used to be married to Carmen Iogo, who's the Penguin's lady friend on the Penguin. But yeah, so I'm like, Jeffrey Wright, surprisingly sexy. Okay. Then next up, I love this. This whole sequence looked amazing. I thought this was so cool. They're in a subway or some kind of train car. There's zombies. It's clearly on the ground or something because zombies are banging on the windows. But this is Isabella Merced, and she looks so much. This looks so much like something out of Alien Romulus, which of course she just also co-starred in. But I think this is an amazing sequence, the way it looks just from this trailer. And it really gets me excited about what's coming up for the show in terms of its action sequences. And some of you are saying that this is from the game as well. So kudos to the Naughty Dog team for coming up with such incredible visuals. All right, then, I think, is this the last shot? It might be. This, of course, are two leads, Joel and Ellie, and the guitar. The guitar is a huge part of season 2. You know, they're going to play guitar at each other for several hours, like to borrow from Barbie. But yeah, the guitar is huge. I'm not a big guitar person, but I know a lot of people are. I think a lot of people are going to be like, oh, the guitar feels. I play the guitar. Let's talk about the guitar. So, and you see a ton of shots about guitar playing here. Sad guitar playing, love guitar playing. Are we going to have a fight guitar playing? It's a big thing. The guitar is huge. So that's why this shot, I think, is so important. Oh, and I think, yeah, this is the last one. Poor Joel. Look at the single tear. Poor Pedro Pascal. I think, didn't he win an Emmy for this already? He's going to do really, really well. But, you know, so sad. I'm like that's, if you, the guitar and this shot are The Last of Us Part 2 in a nutshell. Like, it's going to make us all, we all love Joel so much. I hope that they're not too cruel to him. But we know that they're going to be somewhat cruel to him, which is sad. On that note, that's a good point. Let's close the poll. Okay. Hold on. All right, so is Joel right in his action at the end of season 1? 52% of you feel it's in the moral gray zone. Who are we to judge? We weren't there. We don't know. 34% of you feel, oh yeah, he was correct. I'm in that group as well. And 12%, only 12, feel he was definitely wrong. So that's interesting. I think that really shows you, that maybe the story needs to be massaged just a little bit. And I think that having Neil Druckmann help gives it that authenticity. It's not Hollywood necessarily changing things, but it's the creator of it himself. Thank you, 80s model. All right. So does anybody have any questions or comments about this trailer and story before we move on to the next one? Oh, thank you, Tamed the Three Bears. It is quite foggy and humid. It's threatening to rain in any second here in New York City today. Niall says, favorite new cast member. Well, I haven't watched the show yet, so I can't really say. Although, as I said, I think Jeffrey Wright looks pretty yummy. Hey, Nathan. Hey, Weesey. Thank you for gifting those memberships. That's so generous of you. Thank you so much. Remy says, how much do you know about the second game's story? I know what upset everybody. I know that. So I know that's coming, but I want to get the nuance and everything. So it's time to watch 9 hours of cutscenes. Thank you, SMR Goose, but I don't think that hurricane's actually coming up to New York. I think it's going to turn and go into the middle of the country for some reason. Elise says, do you think that the haters will try to take down this show? Well, the haters always try. The question is, how many of them will there be, and will they be successful? I think unlikely, because I think the show seems to be just so incredibly well made. I was concerned with the first season because it does have a lot of, progressive elements to it. It had a lot of progressive elements. I was worried about how that would go across. Went over amazing. Called, rightfully so, some of the best television of all time. Everybody was fine with it. Already very strong LGBT storylines in the first season. The show was an incredible success. So I think it's not only is it really wonderful to see that, but I think you're seeing representation done right, done organically, and received extremely well. Representation in so many different ways, in terms of gender, sexuality, ethnicity, age. The show has it all. And is extremely successful. And I think it's because it's so well done. Oh, thank you, Stephen. Pedro lost to Kieran Culkin. I know Pedro Pascal won something because everyone was talking about the cake he was serving him in his open shirt at the Emmys, I remember. Everybody was like, oh, what's happening? Dancing Dog 60 says, is Merced now a major player? This hot girl? Still not yet. She looks really beautiful here. This is the best I've ever seen her look for this show. But I'm not sure. I think as good as she looks here, Hot Girl looks bad. So let's see how it works out. So far, Alien Romulus is doing okay. So maybe she's not the jinx that she once was. Oh, SAG! He was looking yummy at the SAG Awards. Thank you. Thank you. So many awards shows. All right. That's where Pedro served up some cake. All right. And then Paul says, Grace, it's amazing how accessible this is to non-gamers and also the most accurate visual adaptation from game to screen that I've ever seen. I also think maybe, Paul, because the game was so well done visually, that if you would want to repeat it, you're like, that's an amazing shot. We have to recreate it. So, fantastic. Okay. Elise, this comes out in 2025. As I said in my reaction, it'll come out sometime at they said it just has to come out by June to make the Emmys cutoff date. So it has, sometime in the first half of 2025. Zeke says, Grace, will the therapist in The Last of Us be like Harley? I'm not sure. It's a new character, so it's as good a guess as anyone's. Thank you, Warren. Thank you, Paul. Oh, Gareth, I love your Ruby badge. You look phenomenal. Gareth is one of the most generous members of this community. So I'm so glad to see you with the Ruby badge. 4 years, baby. All right, let's go to the next story of the day. All righty. Story number 2. Boop. This is rough, boy. Don't worry. We're not going to actually discuss the spoilers, okay? Because it's really bad. But I thought it was a big enough story to talk about it. So yesterday evening, while I was working on my breakdown for Agatha All Along, somebody DM'd me the spoilers for Agatha All Along that Funko had put out. They're brutal. They're real bad. They're some of the worst spoilers I've ever seen. I was aware of the spoilers already from my sources, but of course I never spoiled it because I think that's wrong. Zeke, you don't have to apologize. I always want you to send me stuff. But anyway, I had known one of the characters, and then the other character I was like 90% sure on, and still I think we're not totally sure what the details are, even though we kind of know the situation. That's right, Josh Loves Movies. Joker 2 spoilers are going crazy. Joker 2 was actually trending this morning because it premiered in London. A number of people in the UK have seen it, and the ending has leaked. And I think it's really going to hurt the box office for that film. I'm nervous. I'm surprised that that Warner Brothers had it debut so early in London. So the toys. It's always the toys. So some of the most infamous toy leaks are usually from Lego. Remember Lego spoiled Giant Man when they put out the Lego box and everybody was like, what the heck is this, man? What are you doing to me? And then also they had the infamous Ares will be the big bad at the end of Wonder Woman. And everyone's like, are you freaking kidding me with this crap? Now, why does this happen? The reason this happens is because toys have to be planned way in advance. And they're ordered way in advance. So the toy boxes, the front and the back, which include, collect the whole set, those have to go out in advance to sellers, to retailers, in a catalog, and then it leaks. And sometimes it even goes into the store beforehand. And it's just really, hold on one second. Da, da, da. Dwight, 24-hour ban. If you do something like that again, I'll permanently hide you from the channel. Okay, so anyway, that was really uncool, Dwight. Don't be a jackass. Okay, so anyway, that's what happens. Okay? Don't worry, I took out the Dwight message. Okay. So, yeah. So that's the reason that the leaks come out. The leaks are, the leaks become available. I'm so annoyed about that. Okay, so all right, so anyway. So let's go to the next thing. There must be another way. There must be another way. How can we combat this, right? If you want to know what the leaks are, go onto Twitter and say Agatha Funko, and it'll take you 2 seconds to find out what they are. All right, so how can we keep this from happening? Now, don't worry, I've blocked it out, but here you can see the Funko leak. This is the back of the package for Agatha, and this has been blacked out, but you see that big black space there? That's where the 2 other characters were revealed. Hey, Ruben. So the way that you could potentially take care of this, I think, would be to maybe, I didn't do that Photoshop job, actually, by the way. But what I think that they should do is maybe you don't have to know the whole set. Or maybe the first round is characters that are in the trailers, and then maybe you don't have the other round of toys until after the show is wrapped, and that's the spoiler round. That's potentially maybe what you should say. Also, maybe you could do mystery figures, where you list that there will be figures to get. You could say, like, one of the spoilers was about who Teen is, because that's the easier thing to guess. So maybe you just say teen spoiler figure, and then you have a mystery graphic. And so people know that there's something to collect, but they don't actually see it and they don't see the title. That would be fun to put spoilers on the front of the box, why not do that when you're ordering it? I mean, the person who's ordering the toys doesn't care. They're not like, I wasn't going to order that Lego set for Civil War, but now that I see the Giant Man is in it, I guess I will. I mean, they're just not going to do that. They just want the Civil War Lego sets. So they could be blind items. I think that I got to tell you, if I were Kevin Feige, this is the worst spoiler I've ever seen for a show. And if I were Kevin Feige, I would feel that this has to be what breaks the straw that breaks the camel's back. It's, the last straw. It's too much. The other stuff kind of confirmed things that we knew, like they can't sue Steve because they went into, Funko didn't do anything that was unusual. This is the way things usually go. But I think because WandaVision, Agatha all along is so reliant on these mysteries, because that's why people are watching the show, that it creates a really big problem. And I am concerned, let's go to Hurt the Show, I worry that some people will feel maybe they don't need to watch the show now. I think hopefully people feel that they should still watch it even if they know the identities of these characters, because they at least don't know the details. They don't know how it's revealed. They don't know what that means. They don't know, what's the context of the show. Again, we don't know exactly who they are, right? So, as Wanda's attorney says, it's about the journey, not the destination. It's about both, but unfortunately, one of those things has been hurt. So, yeah. So, I mean, I'm still going to watch it, and I mean, I was enjoying it even though I already knew that stuff. But it was really bad. I mean, this to me would be we have to figure out the toy problem because it was just so bad. As for week to week, I'm very curious now. I just wanted to say on a side note, because it might not be the toys exactly that blame and a little bit of a less interest in these shows. Agatha trended again last night. Woo! I was very happy to see that. It took a minute for it to get up there, but it did. But I do worry that now that Agatha and Penguin have debuted and they're out of the gate and now we're in for the slogs, the week to week, I wonder if the shows will be enough to get people to keep watching. I think that the Penguin, I think you're going to be surprised how it just has no Easter eggs going forward until I'd say maybe the last 2-3 episodes. It's still very enjoyable, but I mean, it's like, it's not going to be like a conversational type of show. As for Agatha, again, I've only seen one more episode, but I did feel it was the slowest of the 4, and it was my least favorite. And so I think that while the episodes are fun, I do worry. I don't see the same zeal about the show as it was the night that it dropped. And so I get nervous about how these shows are going to perform week to week. That's the danger of week to week versus a binge. I'm enjoying the conversation. I'm having a good time with it. And so we'll see what happens. But I am curious to see how that goes down. And I'm so nervous. Maxime says, Wanda Warriors are really carrying this show. I can't wait to see the viewership numbers. Agatha is amazing, but I can't wait. So you can't wait a week between episodes. I have to say the fact they haven't released any numbers for Agatha is scary to me. By now, they should have released first week numbers, especially because they dropped 2 episodes. They released first viewership numbers for The Acolyte. They released first viewership numbers for Loki, for Ahsoka. Why haven't they released anything about Agatha? It just makes me nervous. I hope they just haven't done it for some strange reason instead of them being low numbers, but I can't think of any other reason why they wouldn't. Oddly specific with Audra says, maybe when the boxes are made, the unrevealed items should be blacked out with a caption saying, revealed in episode 5 of Agatha all along. That's a fun idea, but I don't know if they want to make that kind of effort, I'm afraid. I wish they would, because I think they have to do something because this is really, really bad. Ivan says, what's your opinion on the reveals? I can't say without giving them away. I'm happy with those characters that are going to be included. I think one of them might have been oversold a little bit, but I still think that it's going to be really interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing the reveals. All right, so Mark says, so does anybody have any questions or comments about this story? Mark, I'm glad the show is doing well on TikTok, although that didn't save The Acolyte. Owen Tinkler says, I unfortunately saw the figures. Also, did you see that the author of The Darkhold from episode 1? I did see that. Andrew Ugo is an anagram for Wundagore. I did see that. Some people pointed that out. Thank you also, Owen, for pointing it out. And I think that's really good. Tenor, if I don't collect Funko Pops. I don't collect anything anymore. I had mold a couple of years ago at this point, and I lost all my collectibles, and so I don't collect anything anymore. I live a Spartan existence. Let's see here. I'm more about experiences over material things. Let's see here. Ivan, I missed Rio this week too. She'll be back next week, so don't worry about it. Let's see here. Anthony says Sharon was trending last night. Why do they keep killing off fan favorites? Don't worry about it. Don't worry. Dancing Dog 60, I'm glad you're enjoying both shows. I like both shows as well. I think they're both excellent. Wanda's attorney says, what is the best way to contain these leaks and keep the hype alive? There's nothing you can do. I just hope the show continues to serve. And I hope that when these reveals are done, they're iconic. And I hope, Jack Schaefer has a lot of mysteries that she's cooking, as we saw last night. There's a lot of cool stuff happening on Agatha all along. So I hope that people are interested in finding out what the answers are to all of those other questions as well, which have not leaked. Oh, DK, I'm so glad I got you to watch The Penguin. I'm so glad. Steven says a benefit for Agatha is Disney is a machine, so even if slightly lower viewership, Disney will make a lot of money off of merch, park experiences, whereas the Penguin doesn't have that aspect. I'm not sure. Dana O'Leary, I did not spoil Sharon's return. I haven't seen Sharon return. I have no idea if Sharon's going to return. She does not return next week, and that's all the episodes that I've seen. As for Steven's comment, I don't know if Agatha is going to make a lot of money. If people aren't watching the show, are people going to, buy the merch? I don't know. I'm nervous. Dancing Dog 60 compared it to Wednesday. That's interesting. Wednesday was a family show. Maybe that's, one of the differences for some reason. I'm wondering why, Wednesday did do so well and Agatha maybe potentially is struggling. Wanda's attorney, I would not be at all surprised that you were single-handedly funding the merch for Agatha. Let's see here. Official Liam says, Grace, do you think these characters will have big implications in the MCU? One of them will for sure. I mean, I hope so. How many characters does Kevin Feige introduce for us never to see again? Or we're still waiting to have them come back? So I'm not sure. I'm nervous about it. Mr. Andrews will know about the ratings about a month after release because they can't hide the Nielsen ratings. So we'll have a definite answer about 4 weeks after launch. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next story. All righty. Story number 3. Hold on. I like this story quite a bit. Time to play development executive yet again. Boom, baby. All right. RoboCop Citizen. Okay. Woohoo. Woo. RoboCop Prime Video. This is that's right. Robo-boop, Mr. Andrews. Boop. Boop, citizen. Protect yourself. Serve and protect. I like RoboCop. I'm a big RoboCop fan, even though it hasn't been good for a long time. But I recently rewatched the original. I think maybe during the pandemic, I rewatched the original RoboCop. It was pretty awesome. All right, so RoboCop, the Prime Video series has been in works for a while, but it's starting to get some traction. Now, the first thing is, as you can see, this was part of the MGM acquisition by Amazon. They purchased MGM, and they got a bunch of IP. And they dug through their IP box. They were like, what's in this drawer? And they found RoboCop in there. And they were like, oh, yeah. And James Wan is producing, which I find very interesting indeed. Now, James Wan did a great job with the Furious 7 movie, an incredible job. And that wasn't horror-based, but for the most part, he does work in the horror space. So I wonder if there'll be a body horror element to this. The fact that this is a hybrid man and machine. Maybe it'll be particularly violent. I mean, we'll see how this ends up having the James Wan stamp of approval. Now, there have been 2 versions of the RoboCop movie so far. 1987, there he is in a 1987 police station. Hilarious. But, I got to tell you, for the 80s, that looks amazing. And in fact, it looks better than 2014, where Joel Kinnaman took over the role from Peter Weller, and Joel Kinnaman looked like he was wearing plastic. See? Does not look so great. He looks more like he's wearing a suit. You can tell there's, you're like, you're a man. You're just wearing a suit, man. He just looks like he's SWAT, right? I remember being excited about the reboot in 2014, but then it was not good. So you have those, okay? But then I want to talk about 2 other projects this reminds me of. Is anyone familiar with a show called Man and Machine? Man and Machine was a show from the 90s. I watched it as a very small child. I really liked it. It's called Man and Machine, and it's about a human police officer who is partnered with a female robot police detective. So they did a reverse where she is the robot. Okay, hold on. She's the machine. He's Detective Man. Man and Machine, get it? And I remember, even as a little kid, that it was a really big deal that they might date. There is a flirtation between them. And you're like, oh, but she's not a real person. And I guess, you're like, well, I'm from the future. And let me tell you, kid, that ends up not being a hurdle anymore. So it was called Man and Machine. And so it makes me wonder if in a RoboCop series, will he have a partner? That's right. Dredd is interesting. Dredd is a good comparison with Karl Urban. Karl Urban, by the way, never took off his helmet, and it was incredible. He gave a great, chin performance. It was amazing. But then also this reminds me a little bit of Minority Report. Remember, Minority Report was, of course, precogs, seeing who commit crimes before they actually do. And then the question became, was that ethical to arrest somebody for a crime they hadn't actually committed yet? But this precog said that they would. So I do wonder if you have a series and you have a police officer who's part machine, what today would that entail? Basically in the 1980s, it was like a Terminator kind of a situation. But today, you have so many more things that this RoboCop could do. So it's a really interesting thing. The other reason that James Wan might be involved is, of course, Megan. Oh, by the way, there's Brian Jordan Alvarez. Oh, thank you, Gareth. You see, again, so generous, Gareth. He's English teacher on Hulu. I forgot that he was in Megan. But anyway, Megan, of course, was about a doll who, of course, who was a robot, and how that was done. And, so now instead of being a child's toy thing, it's a police officer. And I think, you can see the correlation where you're like, okay, awesome. We'll go from Megan to the RoboCop. So I think that's a good situation as well. I hope Megan 2 is good. All right, now let's talk about the Prime Video brand, which to me is also very interesting. I really love seeing a streaming service develop a brand. And Prime Video is developing a very strong brand because I think that RoboCop fits very well with the shows that have done very well for them. The Boys, Fallout. It's funny you say RoboCop dancing, Niall, in the fashion because, of course, everybody loves Deadpool dancing. So I would be like, maybe RoboCop should dance. So you have The Boys, Fallout, Reacher, and then another 90s movie that blew up for Amazon, Roadhouse. A classic, like a recent classic film. So I gotta say, I think that, RoboCop would fit in with these shows extremely well. And I think that that's right, Alex Cross as well, Kay Walton, Alex Cross as well. Let's see that's interesting. Let's see who they cast as RoboCop. What will be the casting? What actor will they get? Will he have a partner? Who will be the chief? Who's going to be the chief of police? Who's going to be the scientist that's working on RoboCop? It'll be interesting. Prime is very male-centric, Tyler. I think Prime, I watch these shows. I didn't watch Reacher, but I watch these other shows. I think for the most part, very dudes who are into genre content. That's very much what Prime Video seems to have found their spot. Henry Cavill, Tenerife? Nobody's going to stick Henry Cavill in a tin can. The whole point is to see as much of Henry Cavill as possible. They'd be like, can we save his chest and glue it onto the front of the metal? There'd be no point to doing it. Hilarious. Although Tenerife canned beef is a pretty funny joke. They'd be like, save his head? I don't know, man. Although Henry Cavill, remember he built his own computer. Wouldn't it be funny if Henry Cavill built himself? He'd be like, oh, I'll do it myself. I'll do my own tune-ups. Maybe I would call Henry Cavill. I'd be like, is there any way that we could save the top half of him? But what about the cake? I don't think it works with Henry Cavill. The whole point is that the whole point is that RoboCop loses almost his entire body. People would be like, no! Why? Okay. So, any questions or comments about this story? Sorry the lighting isn't better today. I thought it was more overcast when I started. Mr. Andrew says, is RoboCop a franchise? How many films have there been? I think there was 2 of the original, and then there was this reboot, And then I think they tried to do a show a couple of times. Jason Wexler says, I think a 2024 RoboCop would need to be more of an android. Oh yeah, what's that company? Boston something that always makes those freaky things that running around. And we're all like, what are you doing? You know, we're like, kill it with fire. Oh no, it's a machine. Boston Dynamics. That's right. Thank you, Jose. But that would be so ridiculously expensive. I mean, would RoboCop ever be human at all? Or would it be more like Man and Machine? Man and Machine, that lady was a total robot. That lady was a total robot. There was nothing human about her. Or was there, which was the show's point. Mark, this would be a series, a RoboCop series. I think it would do quite well. Let's see what the casting is, but if I were an Amazon executive, I'd be like, I'm excited about this for all of us. All right, any other comments or questions about this story? And then, again, we'll move on to the next one. Zeke says, Grace, do you think they'll gender swap RoboCop? I hope not. I got to tell you, I saw the ballerina trailer today, and I really did not care for it. I was annoyed that she was even dressing like John Wick. I thought it was going to be a different vibe, and I think clearly they were trying to transition the franchise from Keanu Reeves to Ana de Armas. And no disrespect to Ana de Armas. She's a very good, I think she's a compelling actress. I think she looks like she can do a good job with action. But I think that give her own series. So I would not. I mean, if they want to introduce a second RoboCop who's a woman, that's fine with me. But the main RoboCop needs to be a dude. Josh Loves Movie says Ballerina feels like Atomic Blonde meets Red Sparrow. I would agree with that, actually. I did actually think of Red Sparrow when I was watching the trailer. Fran, hey Fran. Fran likes a female counterpart. That's right. Why can't we have Adam and Eve RoboCops? Victor, Ansel Elgort, I believe, is still canceled. And not a draw. Carl says, oh, hey, Carl, I need a Terminator versus RoboCop crossover. That would be great, actually. But I don't know. I think the IP are owned by different people. Oh, Drago said the same thing. That's like Alien versus Predator, RoboCop versus Terminator. Although they're both good guys, aren't they, these days? Riley, the ballerina trailer has been released to the public. It came out earlier today at noon. They shouldn't have released it the same day as the Last of Us trailer. There are so many days in the week. Why does this keep happening when they release Thunderbolts and Gladiator 2 at the same time? Danny, Judge Dredd is a better fit. I like that. RoboCop and Judge Dredd. The search for lip gloss. So chapped. Hilarious. Carl Urban was a great Judge Dredd. I'm very curious to see his Mortal Kombat character. Okay. Oh, thanks, Enter for None. I'm so glad I was able to help you avoid the Agatha spoilers. Yeah, Danny, I think it is time for the Q&A. All right, hold on. All right, Q&A, it's 2:45. You can ask me anything you'd like until 2:55. Zeke was ready to go. Says, Grace, they wouldn't cast Jensen Ackles as RoboCop because he already has an upcoming show on Prime Video called Countdown. So who would you cast? He'd actually be a very good RoboCop. That's Soldier Boy, right? He'd actually be an excellent RoboCop. I'd be like, maybe he could do both? Let's see here. Yash says, Grace, do you think the Joker 2 will bomb? When will you be watching? Well, as I said in the last live stream, the fan screening on Monday is before the press screening, so I'm going to go see it Monday with the fans. and I'll review it that evening. I think there's a chance it might not do well. I'm nervous. Mark, Jensen was your idea? That's very strong. Adam de Sabato says, are you going to do episode breakdowns for the Penguin? The only thing I'm considering is maybe like a chat, like a live chat when the episode's done. I just don't think there's enough interest because, it takes so long to do a breakdown. And I'm definitely going to do a spoiler review when the show is done. But I always feel bad I don't have like the complete set. I feel bad I missed an episode. Sock says, so is Red Hulk and Thunderbolts? I don't believe so. Danny says, I'm glad you like my shirt. Thank you, everybody. Drago says, Grace, how did you come up with your ending tagline right now? I just said it. I love, like when I sometimes say hello and so. These are things that just emerge as taglines. So I appreciate your you guys finding them for me. Maxime says, hey Grace, I've watched every single video of your channel since Into the Woods. That means so much, Maxime. I always love seeing your comments. As a musical theater performer, I am most looking forward to your Wicked content. I'm excited for that too. I'm excited for that movie to come out and to discuss, finally be able to really dig into it with you. Wandering Seth says, you inspired me to start my own channel called The House of Overthinking. I just uploaded a video on Agatha All Along and the Ballad of Witches Road. Oh, that's great. Well, Seth, good for you. Congrats. Let's see here. Man on the Moon. I did see the Wolfman tease. I think that movie looks awful. I don't think it looks like a Wolfman movie at all. I think it looks too low budget. I like Lee Wanell quite a bit. But so maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised, but I thought that trailer looked bad. Lauren says, do you think Anthony Starr needs another role besides Homelander? I've been seeing him in mobile game ads, and I don't know the business behind it, but I feel like it makes him seem less of a star. Well, he was at the Emmys, and he's finally started to do talk show appearances. I don't know why it's taken so long for him to get attention for his work on the show, but I think he's starting to get it, which is exciting. Let him get that. What's the saying? Let him get that bag. Let him get the money off of the mobile game ad. But, and why isn't he getting more offers? I would hope that he would get more work. The downside, though, of being so iconic in a role is that people will always just see Homelander. So that's something that he's going to have to deal with. Carl Moritz says, chances of getting Static Shock in the Gunverse. I don't know. Maybe on the Blue Beetle animated series that he's thinking of doing. I don't know. I think James Gunn should slow down. He just needs to have some hits first. Mickey Epps says, did you see the recent One Piece cast announcement? I did. I'm not a fan of One Piece. I'm not familiar with it, but I'm glad that people are excited about it and they're getting really strong talent. So that means the show is obviously a big hit. Paul says, what do you think will be the biggest film of 2025? I'm not sure. I'll have to see some more trailers. I think Fantastic Four has a lot of hype, but let's see. JD, do I get you to say quite frankly? I love it. Quite frankly. Dancing Dog 60 says, do you think we'll have a Superman trailer by February? We might even have one around the holidays, around Christmas time. Because there will be a lot of big movies coming out then, so you might get a teaser at that point. Nathan says, hey Grace, I've followed BTT since 2016 and subscribed for The Last of Us coverage. The franchise means a lot to me. Thank you for all that you do. I'm happy you're here too, Nathan. Thank you. Danny, I don't plan to cover The Wild Robot, but I am seeing Megalopolis or whatever tonight, and I will review it tomorrow. Mystic says, do you think Gaga's album Harley Quinn will further hurt Joker 2's opening chances? I don't think it'll hurt it, but I don't know if maybe she wants to be that involved. Let's just see. Let's see what the opening weekend is. I do think that the focus has really shifted it to it seeming like Lady Gaga's movie, and I don't know if that'll benefit the film because I think that it primarily something that appealed to male audiences the first time around. I think it's difficult when you switch who you're trying to appeal to. Zeke doesn't want to see Jensen as RoboCop because he would be therefore too similar to Soldier Boy. And Mark Meacham, the guy he's playing in Countdown. Well, I'm not familiar with Countdown, so you might be right on that. Let's see here. Ricardo, I'm so excited to see Toph in live action. The actress seems maybe a little bit too nice, but, of course, she's going to act. So I'm excited to see her in the role. I'm excited to see how they handle the visual effects. That'll be very, very important. Oh, I'm so glad. Enter for none. I'm so glad you guys like my blouse. Thank you so much. This is actually from Johnny Was. They do a lot of great stuff. So I have a lot. I have so many shirts from there. I had to stop buying shirts from there because I'm like, I can't have any more stuff with flowers on it. I have too much stuff already. Thanks, Yash. That's funny. Fran says a Superman extra small teaser to play in front of Joker 2 is completely out of the realm of possibilities, right? Well, especially because now that the movie doesn't look like it's going to do that well, I don't think James Gunn would want to be associated with it. Also, it would come out by now. I think the reason you're seeing some big trailers this week is because Joker started playing, or is about to start playing in the UK, and also we'll have fan screenings on Monday. So I think the Joker 2 trailers are coming out this week. You never know 100% for sure, but I think it's way too early for a teaser for Superman. And why put it in front of Joker? Because, they're not connected. If anything, James Gunn maybe would drop a Superman teaser with his Creature Commandos spot at New York Comic Con, but that also maybe seems like you got to do the Superman launch right. Kay Walton says, why is every influencer reviewing Megalopolis over The Wild Robot? Wild Robot is the better film. That's a great question. It might be the better film, but there's less interest in it. People are more interested in a video about Megalopolis than they are about The Wild Robot. And so that's the reason that you're seeing people make that choice. Steven says, well, with Joker 2, do you think Gaga will get credit by Hollywood for largely being the only one promoting it? Well, not if it doesn't do well, Steven. Then they'll be like, she heard it. Hey, Sadie. Thank you for gifting a membership. Stacey says, when you do movie reviews, do you take notes during the screening while you're in the theater, or do you just watch the movie and then recall what you saw during your review? Sometimes I'll take notes immediately after, but yeah, I don't make notes while I'm watching because it takes me out of it. Let's see here. Degai Tai says, did you see that yesterday was the 10-year anniversary of Fox's Gotham? Big Gotham fan here. I like Gotham too. What is one of your favorite moments from that show? I just liked all the different versions of the villains. I thought it was fun. I particularly liked Penguin and Riddler like everybody else did. I just thought it was a good show. I just liked it. Amoroso, I'm so glad you got a gifted membership. Welcome to the chat. You are going to be here for a whole month. Hey, Sadie, that's so sweet of you to say. Thank you. Mr. Andrews, I didn't check out the trailer for the new Alex Cross show, but I think it's a great idea, and I love Aldous Hodge, so I'm very happy, and I hope it does well. I think that it will. Zeke says, Grace, will Caped Crusader Harley Quinn grow on you as she grew on me? Especially, the new one, especially in lieu of Lady Gaga's now controversial Lee. No. I think the character is too low energy in Caped Crusader, and I hope that isn't an issue with Lady Gaga's version. There are just some aspects of Harley Quinn that are crucial to the character that I just don't think you can change. That's not to say I'm not interested to see where the character still goes. I liked Caped Crusader, the animated series, quite a bit. Danny says, Stephen Owsley says, what's your current comfort show? I just watched this week. The Menendez Brothers was great, and also the Diplomat screeners. I like stuff that I don't cover because then it's not work when I'm watching it, so I can just enjoy it. So those are like that's the stuff where I can just turn my brain off and enjoy it. Danny Dumphy says, I just wanted to use my monthly chat to give a shout out to all my fellow Agatha fans and witchy friends. Also, congrats to Fran Like Pepsi on his first screenplay. Oh, I didn't know that, Fran. Congrats for sure. And thank you, Danny. That's very kind of you. And then Jen says, Grace, I think Megalopolis is just going to be Dark City. That's pretty funny, Jen. It might indeed. Oh, okay, I got to get going. Thank you so much. There will be a live stream tomorrow, 3 a week. So there will be a live stream tomorrow and a Megalopolis review. I hope you're having a great week. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.